From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
The tax filing deadline is right around the corner. So what's changed this year under the new tax law? And what are working families hoping to get changed before next tax season?
And more than 5 months ago, a gunman opened fire in a Pittsburgh synagogue, leaving 11 people dead. And now a group of 6th grade students here in Arizona are honoring the innocent lives lost.
And we're taking you behind the scenes at Cronkite News, from assignment to air. See how stories are produced, reported, edited, and eventually make their way to your TV.
Cronkite News starts now.
If April 15th is marked at all on your calendar, it's probably not marked with balloons and hearts.
That's because Monday is tax day, when both your state and federal income tax returns are due. Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Gabriella Becerra.
And I'm Austin Bundy. Thank you for joining us. Filing may not be a happy experience for most, but it may not be as painful this year as some had feared.
Cronkite News reporter Love Junius explains from our Washington bureau.
As if taxes isn't already bad enough, experts this year were expecting the worst. Tax filers were grappling with their first full year under the new tax law. A government shutdown hit just as tax season was heating up. But what could have been the perfect storm has shaped up as anything but, says Pete Sepp, president of National Taxpayers Union.
Tax refunds appear to be processed at this point in a relatively timely manner compared to other seasons, and interestingly, they are almost the exact same average amount as the previous filing season.
Christine Freeland, president of National Society of Accountants in Arizona, agrees.
Refunds are in the normal time range. They tell you anywhere from 7 days to 21 days, and once in a while somebody doesn't get theirs as quickly, and it's usually because they're involved in earned income credit.
Statistics from the Internal Revenue Service show that the number of returns filed at the end of March is down just slightly, 1.4%, from the end of March last year. The big changes are in the number of people going to the IRS website for help, up 10% this year, and the actual refunds are down by $6 billion, from $212 billion last year to $206 billion this year. The average refund is just down $20 to $2,873. Sepp says the IRS may have helped taxpayers' uncertainty over the new law.
Once the government reopened and tax season began, the rate of filing was slightly smaller in this season compared to the last one. Americans were still trying to figure out some of the ins and outs of the new tax law.
But he also points out that more Americans are filing for an extension beyond Monday's deadline.
It is important to point out that more Americans are filing for extensions than normal to prepare their returns.
If granted an extension, taxpayers will have an additional 6 months to file their tax returns, making their new deadline October 15th. In Washington, Love Junius, Cronkite News.
Here are some interesting facts about this year's tax day with statistics from Wallet Hub. 4.6 million, that's how many fewer taxpayers will receive refunds this tax filing season. 2,957, that's the average tax refund as of March 15th. 90% of refunds are issued in 21 days or less, and 70% of Americans will see their taxes decline due to the massive overhaul of U.S. tax laws.
Well, while you were worrying about your tax returns for this year, Senate Democrats were looking ahead to next year when they hope to have expanded tax breaks for low-income earners. It's a proposal that one taxpayer from Tucson was happy to get behind, as Alyssa Klink reports from our Washington bureau.
Some people say nothing Congress does directly affects their lives. Tucson resident Julie Gross is not one of them.
This is going to change our lives if this passes.
Gross was in Washington talking about the Working Families Tax Relief Act. The Democratic bill would expand the child tax credit for kids who are 5 or younger from the current $2,000 to $3,000 per family. It would let people from age 19 to 67 claim the earned income tax credit that can currently only be claimed by taxpayers between 25 and 64 years old.
If we're going to help people, help those who truly work every day to build for tomorrow.
That would be a blessing for Gross, a 4th grade teacher who said she and her husband can barely afford health insurance for their 1-year-old son on their 2 salaries. They pay for it, but it's money they don't really have.
It would mean that we could pay our son's premium for the year and not have to pay out of pocket every single month. And that would free up a lot of money every month for us.
Supporters say the act would boost incomes of 46 million American households, lifting 7 million people out of poverty in the process, including 3 million children. Arizona's average annual household income in 2017 was just over $56,500, almost $4,000 lower than the national average that year. Because of that, Erica York, economist at the Tax Foundation, says the act would have an even greater impact on states like Arizona.
States that have larger percentages of lower income folks, we would expect to see a larger benefit because of those expansions to the earned income tax credit.
As for Gross, she just wants Congress to pay attention to families like hers and make a change.
I've worked really hard for my money, just like the other corporations and 1% that are getting their tax breaks. I've worked really hard for my money, so I should be able to keep it too. And this isn't a handout. It's a way for my family to afford health care. It's just basic needs.
In Washington, Alyssa Klink, Cronkite News.
Democrats have tried to push similar measures in the past, but they are optimistic about this year's version, which had almost every Democrat as a sponsor this week. The only Democrat who has not signed on, Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona. Backers of the bill said that's because she had not had a chance to read the measure. We reached out to Sinema's office today, but did not get a response.
As President Trump continues to call for more border security, one technology company says it can help. Elbit Systems of America, based in Texas, has developed new surveillance systems, including 55 towers that range from 80 to 100 feet tall and have advanced radars, cameras, and sensors to detect activity. The company has also created 6-foot autonomous drones with pre-programmed flight paths that have been approved by the FAA to fly beyond visual line of sight. Both of these technologies are being tested in Marana right now. Yesterday, Vice President Mike Pence visited Arizona's southern border, telling CNN the Trump administration will not return to separating families as a way of deterring illegal immigration. The last 4 months or so, the president had been pushing then Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen to enforce a stricter and more widespread zero-tolerance policy. According to multiple sources, he wanted families separated even if they came in at a legal port of entry and were legal asylum seekers. But President Trump repeatedly denied that was the case, and Vice President Pence backed him up.
The president made it very clear this week we're not rethinking bringing back family separation.
The vice president also stressed that the responsibility was on Congress to act and provide a legislative solution to what he says is an inadequate immigration system.
Middle school students at the St. Catherine of Siena Catholic School in Phoenix took action after learning about a regretful piece of history they never thought was possible. Cronkite News reporter Bayan Wang shows us how they expressed their compassion for victims of anti-Semitic crimes. Bayan?
Yeah, these sixth graders put so much effort into this initiative. They spent several weeks planning a ceremony and were finally able to find the one person they wanted to share it with.
When the war ended, in '45, I was 12.
At that same age, now decades later, children like Enzo Lorenzana
it was also heartbreaking.
And his sixth grade classmates learn about one of humanity's most anguishing realities.
Very few children survived the Holocaust.
Faced with this fact for the first time, these children felt connected to a stranger more than 70 years their senior.
They had to dig their graves, and they were shot.
Frida was the first Holocaust survivor I've ever met.
But anti-Semitic atrocities are more than just a lesson in history.
In loving memory of the lives lost in the Tree of Life synagogue shooting.
The class planted a tree honoring the victims of the 2018 synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh.
The 4 blue ones represent the 7 men who lost their lives, and the 4 red ones represent the 4 women who lost their lives.
It was a ceremony that Frida Allwise just couldn't pass up. One that just hit too close to home.
It's inconceivable for us survivors to think that this can happen again.
The shooting was a tormenting reminder of Allwise's despairing past, but she said the act of kindness shown by the sixth graders is her remedy.
To see that they can understand what's happening, that it's not right, that there's hope. I have hope that they might change all that.
Now the students are planning to write letters to the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh with a photo of the Tree of Life they planted for them here in Arizona. Live in the control room, Bayan Wang, Cronkite News.
Maricopa students will now have a boost in STEM-related items following the grand opening of the Superintendent's Resource Center. Cronkite News reporter Ariel Salk takes us inside this shopping center for teachers, where everything is free.
The power of play.
Everybody loves free stuff.
I think these are super cool.
Especially teachers who are underfunded. Amazon stocked the shelves with STEM-related materials for Maricopa educators to bring back to their schools.
It's overwhelming because there's so many things, and it's just weird that everything is free and accessible to us. And so this is just, it feels weird.
Educators are given 2 tote bags and are able to fill them with materials they wouldn't get otherwise.
Biggest barriers for STEM-related education is having a lack of materials. And so at Amazon, one of the things that we wanted to identify is how we could help out with that barrier.
Items such as motion sensor lights, Bluetooth keyboard cases, and waterproof cameras.
I think this puts a big relief on teachers that plan, amazing projects, but they don't know where to go for funding.
Principal Hardy looks forward to bringing back her treasures.
This is an amazing opportunity. It's so exciting. For our students, this is incredible.
In Phoenix, Ariel Salk, Cronkite News.
Teachers can access the STEM resource centers to learn how to use these tools creatively in the classroom by registering online.
There's been lots of a cloud cover this Friday in the Valley.
Andrew Way is in the Cronkite Weather Center with a look at your weekend forecast. Andrew?
Well, actually, we can see those partially cloudy skies starting to come back around 6 o'clock, but as we move into the evening, things should start to clear up. If we look at our weekend ahead of us, the highs tomorrow start in the mid-80s in the southern portion of the state and then start to gravitate towards the high 70s, moving into the mid-60s, and then even as low as 56 in Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon. If we look at our lows tomorrow, we see those same numbers being consistent with a low of 57 in Yuma, moving towards that same area here in the southern central part of the state and getting as low as even 25 in Flag and the Grand Canyon. With the weekend ahead of us, we can see a warm one coming out, that mid-temperature of 71 today, turning into an 81, as high as 90 by Monday, despite those cloudy skies. And if we look at the week ahead of us, we see those same numbers consistent. It's a little cooler on Tuesday, 83, but moving right back up into 91 by Friday.
School is filled with memories of recess for many, but now one teacher at Levine Elementary has introduced a new option, yoga. Blaine McCormick explains.
I was pretty judgmental about diving into yoga because all I thought it was just postures and poses.
But now Gavin Tucker is teaching it at Levine Elementary School. Along with instructors, Tucker introduced complementary yoga with the school's curriculum and disciplinary policies. The school has seen a 70% reduction in office referrals, according to Principal Robert Kaplinger. There are morning sessions in the school's gymnasium, as well as a private room titled the Mind, Body, and Spirit Room, or MBS for short.
Kids are eager to come to school because they know that there's going to be yoga, they're learning something new, and they've embraced that.
When you walk down the hallways at Levine Elementary, you come to this door, which is the MBS room. And when they walk in the room, a yoga mat awaits them, along with beautiful scenery to help them relax. There's also essential oils and smells with diffusers in the room as well. So the students take off their shoes, get down on the mat, and are ready to be taught breathing and yoga techniques by Gavin's wife, Jackie.
All the kids that I'm seeing right now have either been struggling from anxiety, some kids just having a hard time focusing in class. And so when they have, come to see me, it's just been like a completely turnaround. The transition has been great. They came in struggling and now they're able to deal with things using their breath.
Outside of school, Jackie is a certified yoga instructor in the Valley. The program has been used through elementary and middle school grades, along with special education.
For half moon, deep breath here. In my classroom, it's had a really positive calming effect, and we're always looking for new interventions for our kids. We're always trying something different and new, and this program has really taught my kids to stop and focus.
Tucker said that he wants to keep developing the program and eventually take it to the school district.
During these yoga sessions, parents are welcome to participate in the exercises along with their children.
Up next, it's the return of Cronkite News Full Circle.
We take you behind the scenes like we are now with our producers and production team in the Cronkite News control room and show you how our reporters go from assignment to air and everything in between.
That's coming up after the break, but first, a look at what's ahead on PBS NewsHour.
NewsHour. As she continues to record music, singer Loretta Lynn celebrates her 87th birthday surrounded by country's biggest stars. That's Friday on the PBS NewsHour.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles. In Cleveland. In Washington. In Louisville.
From Jerusalem.
Live in Philadelphia. From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
I'm Jose Cardenas, host of Horizonte. Each week, we bring you experts and community leaders to discuss the issues that are vital to our community here in Arizona. We cover the stories that affect and inspire us and our families, and talk to the newsmakers who shape the communities where we live. Horizonte is your source and your voice for what matters most here on Arizona PBS.
Last year, in hopes of increasing transparency in television news, Cronkite News launched Full Circle, where our producers followed around reporters on an assignment to show you every step in the process to creating stories seen on our nightly newscasts.
Tonight, Full Circle returns as producer Keegan Kelly recently followed around Borderlands reporters Austin Westfall and Julian Hernandez. We take you from assignment to air on Cronkite News Full Circle.
Barcena, Ducey, can you think of anybody else who might be important?
Well, I know for sure that, those are the two main characters or people that we're going to get at the presser, but I would say keep your eyes peeled, right? Keep your eyes peeled to see if there's anybody there.
Yeah, do you know if anybody else is going to be at the luncheon?
I don't have a list of the people that are going to be at the luncheon. I don't. But my hope is that we've covered this beat enough where if you see someone that you feel is important that could add something substantive to your story, that you would be able to approach that person and have an interview. Probably be getting there around 11:15, so I might see you coming in and out.
Hey man, you want to ride with me? Cool. I just went to my car. I'll pick you up right by. Want to meet by that nail salon?
Okay, I'll see you there in about 2 minutes.
Sounds good.
My name is Julian Hernandez. I'm a Borderlands reporter.
Like that's it. They're like, yo, like, you know. Apparently, the press gavel is not going to be here at the Canby, but it's at a different location, which we were not informed of.
Is they slated this to lead the show today. This is supposed to be the top story of the day, and now because of some scheduling issues, that's probably going to screw everything up.
All right, okay. Okay, bye. let's head over to the tower, see if we can get there. It's about 3.5 miles away. I just got off the phone with Alec, the media contact, and so he said it's starting right now, but it's going to be over in about 5 to 10 minutes.
Because the last thing we can't control, what if it doesn't start right at 1:30? What if it goes late? What if, I mean, you said that the event ends at 1:30, and that's what we're leaning off of, right?
The second press gaggle is supposed to begin at 1:30.
So the press gaggle is not going to be at 1:30. It's going to be a little bit later than 1:30. So to get into the press gaggle, ask a question, and then get back and try to turn a mini package doesn't sound feasible to me. I don't want the producers to expect something that we can't necessarily commit to. So now the plan is to ask a question at a press conference at 1:30, book it back to the car, book it back to Cronkite, and turn a video package for tonight's newscast. Deadline is 3 p.m.
You might be able to get what you need here and still be able to walk back to the station earlier than 1:30. Think about that. So there is still a possibility that you'd be able to turn a package with this. Okay, I don't want you to discount that option.
We got less than 80 minutes before deadline, probably like 20 or 30 before we get back to the newsroom, so our hearts are racing.
We were worried before that we weren't going to have time to interview our subjects, aka the governor and the ambassador, until the very end of the event. Luckily, they both gave us some pretty good sound bites during the event, so we were able to take off a little bit early, and now we're back in the edit bay with 45 minutes to spare until deadline.
Give me different shots of the room, of them, so that'll cover your 45-second VO. And then what we do have to do is choose your Ducey soundbite and your Barsina soundbite.
Ducey highlighted the importance of pushing this treaty through in order to continue building a strong financial partnership with Mexico. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and say on set a little bit later. Now the task is to find a soundbite from Ducey that I can lead that sentence into.
I really like what she said at 1:26 when she spoke about immigration and the close ties. It was at 1:26 p.m. I don't know if you marked that.
Yeah, so basically we're ready to roll. Now we're out here, we're rehearsing. We're going to go live in about 40 minutes, and I'm going to front this thing, which means I'm going to present what we shot today on camera for today's show.
We originally thought that the Mexican ambassador story for today was going to be our lead, but it was supposed to be a package, but it ended up just being a Nat's Sotbo. A package has a combination of different SOTs and video, and it's kind of more formatted and put together. A VOSOT is just video that the reporter talks over, and then a soundbite from whoever they're interviewing. So it's more of like a condensed version of a package.
Governor Doug Ducey met with Mexican ambassador to the United States, Martha Bárcena, discussing efforts to strengthen Arizona-Mexico economic ties.
Austin Westfall joins us live with more on what the governor was able to accomplish. Austin?
Yeah, this was Bárcena's first official visit to Arizona as U.S. ambassador. Both Governor Ducey and Ambassador Bárcena specifically focused today's public meeting on the importance of maintaining and growing trade relations between Arizona and Mexico. They also highlighted the cultural and geographic ties that have united the two territories for decades.
Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Governor Ducey and Ambassador Bárcena made their first joint public appearance at the Canby Hotel in Phoenix. The governor has been pushing in Congress for the ratification of the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, known as the USMCA. This agreement is President Trump's replacement for the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. Today, Ducey highlighted the importance of pushing this treaty through in order to continue building a strong financial partnership with Mexico.
In 2018, Arizona's total trade with Mexico and Canada exceeded $20 billion. But there's a lot more room to grow.
The contributions of the Mexican community to the economy, the society, and the culture of the U.S. are undeniable. The U.S. of today cannot be explained without the Mexican presence.
Today's meeting happened under the umbrella of the 60th anniversary of the Arizona-Mexico Commission, a nonprofit cross-border organization pushing for economic prosperity and growth between Arizona and Mexico. Ambassador Bárcena will also visit Tucson to meet with community and state officials there, focusing on border and immigration issues. In the broadcast center, Austin Westfall, Cronkite News.
I want to give a shout out to Austin. I thought he did a really great job with that piece. It was the only thing on our producer wish list this morning was the meeting between Ducey and the Mexico U.S. ambassador. And I know there were some speed bumps along the way, but I thought you pulled together a really nice story and it came together really well.
I mean, I went out there and ran into a pretty big roadblock and it kept our focus, and yeah, it turned out okay.
What we thought was going to be a pretty stressful day turned out to be a pretty stressful day.
Yeah. I think what I learned to do is honestly just stay calm. It may seem like the sky is falling down, but there's usually a way to figure out a way to make things work.
So, we didn't rush. I think we took the moment to, contact our editor and see what's the best way to move forward from here, right? Instead of just making, these rash decisions by ourselves, let's make this more of a collaborative effort, because, the more brain power we get behind a problem, I think the easier and the more complete the response will be.
We're working on a half-hour Full Circle special that should be coming your way in a few weeks.
To watch more Full Circles from the past, just check out our Cronkite News YouTube page. And that's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.